Hello everyone, P. Don's here, and I am back for a semi-final matchup in the Alola division for UGA Season 3. I am playing the 8th seeded Lake Erie Wishiwashis, who were able to upset the number 1 seed last round, ECU, who had an 8-0 season prior to the playoff set. I did play this team during week 6 of the regular season, and I won 2-0. Having said that, I think I got lucky to win 2-0. And as I dug more into the matchup, it became apparent that I probably got really lucky to win 2-0. Why? Well, here's the matchup. Obviously, you got the same 11. The Wishiwashis have the same 11 from week 6, so none of the mons have changed. Like, when I detailed that Mamoswine was a huge threat in week 6, it still is a huge threat. I had mentioned that my understanding of the matchup had changed from the last time I played this team. And unfortunately for me, it hasn't changed in a good way. Rather, I can see how mismatched I could potentially be versus this team. It's going to be a tricky one. This team is far, far, far more dangerous than I had realized in week 6. The Lake Erie Wishiwashis are able to make a core of Tapu Fini, Mamoswine, and Galarian Zapdos. Those three combined are basically able to wall or super effectively hit most of my important offensive mons. Like if I want to do Virizion, week 6 showed that Scarf Galarian Zapdos is a huge threat to it. It'll get knocked out immediately. If I want to go Dragapult, I got to worry about Tapu Fini and Mamoswine, because Dragapult probably can't KO them if they're maxed, and I'm going to take a chunk of damage in return. Hey, what if I do Diggersby? Well, Diggersby is hit super effectively by all three of them. Tapu Koko could hit all three of them super effectively, but it doesn't want to take a Moonblast or Max Starfall. Galarian Zapdos can get Stomp and Tantrum or Max Quake, and Mamoswine is obviously a counter to Tapu Koko. I have to hope that a potential Max Overgrowth or Max Steel Spike can KO the Mamoswine, and that's hard to do. And like Weavile, it could do damage, but these three are going to break through Weavile pretty well. Like Fini hits it super effectively, and Weavile's kind of frail in of itself. So, like, even if I got the 3 triple axles off on the Galarian Zapdos to stop close combat, I'll just eat a Moonblast. So, it's tough. As I kind of implied, Koko isn't terrible, but Manectric greatly weakens Koko because of Lightning Rod. So, I can't hit Fini or Galarian Zapdos with an electric attack reliably. And if I go Special Koko and do a Rain mode, I then have to worry about Snarls. So, Manectric is also an issue in support. Now, Weavile isn't bad because it does have that Ice Stab, it can give me some support, but I can't reliably use it either because Salazzle can stop Weavile from setting up due to Fake Out. Yes, Weavile can Fake Out Salazzle and be faster, but my mons kinda need the support to break through the Lake Erie Wishiwashis, and Salazzle just appearing on the field for one turn could be all that my opponent needs to deny me the support that could win me the set and allow my opponent to win the set instead. And like, if it's Salazzle and Galarian Zapdos and Zapdos maxes and gets max Airstream, all of a sudden I probably don't have Speed Control anymore. So, yeah, that can be tough. Roserade, well, let's see. Virizion hit by poison, Tapu Koko hit by poison, Politoed hit by grass, Diggersby hit by grass, Omastar if I bring it hit by grass, Weavile's frail. So if Roserade can take the attack, I might be KO'd in return. Only Dragapult can really hit Roserade pretty well without really worrying about dying. But still, then you go back to the Triangle Core that I mentioned earlier, and Dragapult has a problem. And however, if I'm able to hit Roserade hard enough, it will probably be KO'd quickly because it's not the bulkiest Pokemon. So that is one thing I have going for me. And almost all the offensive threats that would hit Roserade are faster than it. Now, Escavalier, I have to choose between Sun and Rain. If I can run Fire Punch on Diggersby, I can run a Fire Attack on Dragapult, but then that weakens my Rain mode. And if I weaken the Rain mode, then stuff like Politoed and Omastar aren't going to hit as hard, and it might take away some other strategies I might be thinking of. And Escavalier is bulky enough to where it can probably survive a hit or two. So if it's paired with Slowbro, I have to be very careful. And Goodra is another problem. It forces physical play because of how especially bulky it is. But then my opponent can just pair it with Salazzle, and I could be burned or breaking swiped, and all of a sudden, because I went after the Goodra, I can't break through anything because now I have minus attack and I'm burned. So it's tough. Only Obstagoon and Stonejourner, looking at it, seem less optimal in the typical 11 versus 11 week preview. But I could even see them being played in some ways. Like, for example, my Mons are pretty well EV'd this week for specific things. My opponent swaps in Stonejourner. Those EVs go out the window because of its ability. So, yet another issue. I am expecting the Lake Erie Wishiwashis to cover for the Virizion beat-up mode because of how I approached the Week 6. So, I have alternate ways to play around the team because of that. But it is good if I can set it up so spoiler, I am bringing the beat-up mode this week. But I need alternate options just in case, like the Scarf Zapdos or something like that comes again. And based on Week 6 and the 11v11 week preview, I'm predicting Galarian Zapdos, Mamoswine, Tapu Fini, Manectric, Salazzle, and a Wildcard Mon. I can't say what that Mon is because Lake Erie Wishiwashis have a lot of very good options this week. But I feel like those 5 are even a level above what my opponent can bring. And it does reflect the team that my opponent brought Week 6, which could have been effective if one or two things went a little differently. Like Scarf Galarian Zapdos, I think it was banned Mamoswine. Tapu Fini had max Steel Spike, so I think it was physical because the Manectric howled next to it as well. The Manectric was supportive. I did KO Salazzle with a combination of Icy Wind and High Horsepower or Max Quake, so I think it's the item. But yeah, and Stonejourner showed up for the Helping Hand boost. So my opponent has a lot of things I need to worry about. I feel like this is my best shot. I'm bringing back the Belly Drum Politoed combo with Togepi that I used Week 2 against the Los Angeles Lanoons. Of note, this is also Togepi's first appearance since Week 2. So, I am thinking that perhaps because I have not used Togepi in seemingly over 2 months, that my opponent may not prep for it as much as he should. And with the offensive power that +6 Politoed can have, it is the only thing that I was able to see in testing that could break the Tapu Fini, Galarian Zapdos, Mamoswine triangle semi-reliably. There were even scenarios where in testing, those three were able to take out the Politoed, but more often than not, I was able to do enough damage to sweep a Politoed and follow me support from Togepi. So that's going to be my primary game plan this week. I'm also running Water Absorb again because I don't need the Rain calcs immediately. Like, I can KO something with Liquidation or Max Geyser and set the Rain that way, and then get the Rain later. And I am also able to check Tapu Fini's Water-type attacks a little bit with Water Absorb. Plus, as you can see, I have Dragapult as well. It's part of the beat-up combo, which is strong this week if my opponent is not running Choice Scarf, Galarian, Zapdos again. But I could surf the Politoed and restore some health while breaking some sashes, which isn't the worst thing in the world. Plus, obviously, the beat-up combo. And if I get desperate, this is a max I can use to start dropping defenses. And my entire team is physical this week. Like, even with the Salazzle being a threat, my entire team is physical. The only special attack I have is Surf. So, being able to max Phantasm into the opposing team might allow some of my Mons, depending on the situation, to get that drop that they need to pick up a KO. Besides for Politoed, I also have Surf for the weakness policy combo with Diggersby. And that, if I can get into position, can do a good job against my opponent's team. Like, granted, it had Tailwind support week 6, but it was pretty effective in game 2 of that set. So, the offensive power is there. Tapu Koko is a standalone max target. Like, it's the only thing on this team that isn't totally reliant on a combo play. Although it certainly appreciates Togepi and some other Mons as support. Like, I can hit some of the Mons hard with Wild Charge or Max Lightning if the Manectric is out of the way. I got the Brave Bird for the Rose Raid and speed control. And Iron Head could be very crucial in raising my defenses as a max Steel Spike. I also ran some calcs, and if I lead Virizion and Tapu Koko, regardless of which one maxes, basically I can take down many Dynamaxed Mamoswines with a combination of Max Steel Spike and Leaf Blade, or Max Overgrowth and Iron Head. It's not going to take down every single one, but if it doesn't take down that specific Mamoswine, then I'll have an idea of its spread and potentially how to approach it later. Okay, so overall, this team has answers to many of the things that my opponent can bring, but I feel like my opponent has 11 viable Mons this week, and 9 of them are very good. So, essentially, there might be some things that I do not expect. And I'm going to have to be very careful and react appropriately to whatever is shown to me. Like in Week 6, this matchup is very volatile. If I am unable to take KOs rather quickly, I believe my opponent will be able to overwhelm me. And looking at the 11v11, I believe the Lake Erie Wishiwashis have the team advantage. This matchup isn't as bad as my matchup was versus ECU, which I had as about a 30-70 matchup. I feel like this is more 40-60 in my opponent's favor, but it is still pretty bad, and I am going to have to play very well in order to make the finals. I mean, Gothitelle was forced out this week. Gothitelle has come to my other 9 matches. Like, trapping is so powerful. The support it does is so powerful, and I have no room for it. I basically need all of the offensive coverage that these 4 Mons and the support that the Dragapult and the Togepi give to have any shot of winning this game. So, with that, I'm going to take you guys into the match. It's going to be post-commentated, but one thing I will mention is sometimes I do the pre-game commentary after I've played the match because of time. I have it written. I know what I want to say, so that part isn't impacted, but I sometimes do know the result when I'm doing it. I'm recording this about 40 minutes before we're playing. I don't know what the result is going to be, and I'm pretty terrified of this team. It's not unwinnable, but if I do make finals, I am going to have to work for this. So here's hoping everything goes well, and I will take you guys into the game. We're going to jump into the set now. Going into this, I am extremely nervous. My prep hasn't been so good this week. It's like I've been losing a lot of practice games. We're winning a few, but losing a lot more. And also, team matchup is really not that good for me. So I'm worried. And as a matter of fact, if you notice, I also helped Connor get his team in his UGA playoff match, and he actually lost to Funky in the Kalos semis. So I'm the last hope for Team Ireland's involvement in UGA this season. So yeah, it's gonna be tough. I know I can win this because I've done it before in week 6, but there are a lot of issues. And seeing this, I actually got 2 of the Mons wrong this time. But what shocks me is Obstagoon coming. Obstagoon is actually my 11th ranked Mon for my opponent this week, based on some of the prep I did. And it's not that bad of a Mon. I just felt like, along with a Stonedroner, 9 other options were better. So my opponent has an Obstagoon strategy. I'm really not that prepped for it. But then again, there's been so many things during my games that could happen. Like, for example, someone came up with a Manectric and Feeny Telepathy Discharge. I didn't see that coming. So there are a lot of things I need to be careful of. So I just go to my anticipated Game 1 lead of Togepi and Politoed, and to get ready to set up the beat-up mode. I go Virizion in the back, and I do decide to go Dragapult, because even a +2 Virizion is going to be pretty strong, and I also have the Ally Switch support that I can use. Zapdos and Obstagoon is not a lead I expected. Like, I expected the Zapdos, but probably not the Obstagoon. So I'm thinking, am I going to be switcherooed? What's going on here? But also the safest thing for me to do is just follow me Belly Drum and get set up. I figure I can I can take the 2 hits and protect Politoed and have a mostly healthy Politoed at +6 attack, ready to Dynamax next turn. I figure this is the Zapdos. I guess Obstagoon wouldn't surprise me, but it's probably Zapdos. And yeah, it is. Follow Me comes out. It's gonna take this knockoff. And I'll take the max move, which is going to be Airstream. Togepi goes down, but it's done its job. It's protect the Politoed, and I'm about to get a +6 Toad. Two things to note with the items. The Zapdos revealed Life Orb, which is different from the Choice Scarf it had week 6. And Obstagoon went before Zapdos. Meaning, it's either a bulky Zapdos or a Scarf Obstagoon. Alright, so I actually spend a little bit of time here thinking about what I want to bring in. But I'm bringing in Dragon Ball. I already know that. I take the time a bit because I revealed Ally Switch week 6. And I want to at least have my opponent think I'm considering which mon to bring in, so maybe Ally Switch isn't immediately assumed. Because my opponent did see Dragon Ball Ally Switch during week 6. Yeah, this is very clearly a max and a liquidation into the Zapdos to get rid of it. The question is, do I Ally Switch or not? And I think for me at least, it's pretty clear that I should. So I do. Knockoff comes off, it went into the Dragon Ball slot, so Politoed took it. The Airstream goes into where Dragon Ball is now, so that was a good Ally Switch. I still have a Dragon Ball, and Politoed is relatively healthy. And this Max Geyser should be able to finish off the Zapdos. Which it successfully does. So I take out the max. I have a healthy max of my own, healthy-ish anyway, and the range is on. Alright, so the Feeny comes out. The Calcs I've run, I can KO it with a Max Geyser if I want. Max Quake should do the job as well. The question is, how much damage is Feeny going to be able to do to Politoed? And am I going to need Dragapult later? Like, Dragapult is the only pseudo redirection I have. So I'm trying to figure out what's in the back. Maybe it's a Scavalier, maybe it's a Mamoswine. I do eventually decide that because the Politoed is probably going to be attacked by Tapu Fini, I decide to switch into the Virizion to take a resisted hit. I'm going to lose my Life Orb, but I should get the Justified boost. But that happens, but this is more damage than I thought it would, to be honest. The Virizion has some defensive investment. But I am right about the Moonblast going into Politoed. Max Quake comes out. And I find out that the Tapu Fini is Focus Sashed. So I'm probably going to have to find a way to take two KOs this turn. Unfortunately, I dropped the close combat because of what I was expecting my opponent to bring. Like, I did not expect the opposite unit, so I don't have it, so I can't get a one-shot onto the opposite unit. So I do target into the Virizion with the Fini with Virizion, and it does protect. So I'm only taking 1 KO this turn. As the Quake goes into the Obstagoon and it's wiped out. This helped me a bit as I tried to survive the Tapu Fini. But if it's not Manectric in the back, then I'm getting hit physically hard, and it is Mamoswine. Alright, so I have a difficult decision to make once again. Politoed could go down to like an Earthquake or high horsepower. I do need the damage on the Mamoswine. Like, even Dragapult can finish off that Tapu Fini where it is. But I have to figure out what the best thing to do is. And I'm really struggling to decide. I do decide to go into the Virizion with the Leaf Blade. I'm contemplating Liquidation or Earthquake, just in case of Protect. I'm really not sure. And my hand actually shakes here, and it gets knocked into my onto my side of the field, forcing a timeout. And the Mamoswine probably reveals Choice Band with that. I do take the Gleam because of the defensive boost, but the Liquidation goes into the Fini instead of the Mamoswine that I wanted to target. The intention was to target Mamoswine with something. My hand could not stop shaking during that turn because of how big of a play it was and how difficult the matchup was. And it ended up costing me the target I wanted to make. So now it forces me into a 50-50 situation where I have to call the ally switch right on my side. And I have no way of being able to delay this return, because Dragapult is the only mon on this team that does not have Protect. So I can't see where the target is going. So I just have to make a call right now. I decide because I show the ally switch that my opponent will read into it, so I go for the Phantom Force and the Liquidation to try and KO the Mamoswine. My opponent does not read into the ally switch, and I lose Politoed. Meaning this Phantom Force has to crit and one-shot the Mamoswine. I don't even know if it's capable of that. And yeah, it only does, it doesn't even do half, so I had no chance of KOing that Mamoswine with the Phantom Force, so this game's over. I'm very disappointed that the way that my hand was shaking while inputting those moves forced the timeout on my end. I think I would have won if it didn't happen, but I I can't say for sure. Like Mamoswine was faster, so it's tough. So I basically played as well as I could have in prep, preview, stuff like that, and I still lost. Whether it's because I was shaking, whether it's timeout, whatever, I still lost, and my opponent now knows how I'm approaching this week. And where I am at a team disadvantage, where I basically have to play perfectly, I gave a game away. Or at least the opportunity to win one. So the pressure is absolutely on me, and I'm trying to figure out the best way to not repeat that. I'm actually sitting here just trying to regain my composure because that timeout really bothered me. Like I was so close, but I do go back into it, and I assume my opponent is going to bring whatever counter play he has to the belly drum mode. And with that, because my opponent showed that it's not Scarf Zapdos, and thinking there will be adjustments to the lead with the belly drum mode showed, I eventually do decide to go the beat up core with the Dragapult and Verzian leading. The support I struggle with a bit, just because a Politoed probably isn't going to be too useful if it's not setting up. But I'm not sure if I can afford Togepi here. Like, I need the offense just in case something goes wrong. I'm definitely bringing the Diggersby. I can surf to proc the policy if I need to. But I did say Tapu Koko was a standalone option, so I do decide to bring it as my fourth. And the lead is actually the same. So, because I know the Zapdos is not Scarfed, I feel like this is a free opportunity for me to beat up my own Verzian and to start going on the offensive. Figure it's like knockoff or switcheroo or something like that coming from Obstagoon. But Steph's WBE team, we drafted Galarian Linoon, and one of the reasons we did so was because that line gets Icy Wind. And I can tell you right now, I did not remember the Obstagoon was capable of Icy Wind, because it's like the only Mon I didn't give too much thought to because of the other options on the team. So I inadvertently banked my entire UGA season on a 5% miss. And no, I didn't get it, and I'm all but eliminated from the playoffs with that turn one. Like, outside of maintaining my composure better during game one, I don't know if there was much more I could have done. This matchup was not as impossible as the ECU matchup felt, but there were so many options everywhere that I lost a lot more in prep than I won. And yeah, Parisian is never taking that. I have one chance left, and it's Tapu Koko being able to pick up this KO with a Wild Charge. I'm thinking about ways to get around it, I guess. Do I have to do this? Maybe Manectric is in the back. But no, I'm way too far behind, so this is the only option I have. Dragapult is going to go down. Combination of Icy Wind and... well, not even Icy Wind. It's already been damaged, so it can be picked off if my opponent wants to. If my opponent is stomping Tantrum on the Zapdos, Tapu Koko will go down. I have to hope that my opponent does not. And I have to get this Wild Charge KO before the season's over. The Airstream does go into Dragapult. Gets a good ally switch there. Would have, and maybe not. It still would have done a lot of damage. So the Wild Charge is able to come out, and it doesn't pick up the KO. So, especially with all that damage, it's over. I have no regrets on how I approached this week, or my prep. This was very, very difficult, and my opponent just got back from the doctors for something, so I decided to just lock in the forfeit now. The game's over. I don't want to keep my opponent like busy just inputting extra moves when the outcome's clearly been decided. So yeah, I call it there. Great prep, great play for my opponent, and yeah, good games, Jimmy. Good games. All right, so we are back, and yeah, that didn't go well at all. But honestly, while I'm disappointed in my performance, I felt like I didn't play as optimally as I could have, and that's something I needed to do to have a chance in this matchup. Ultimately, I can't really complain. There were a lot of issues in prep where I just could not get anything going. Like, the people I prepped with were throwing various teams of different strategies at me as I was doing this. Like, I think I mentioned one of them ended up being Telepathy, Tapu Fini, and Discharge Manectric. So yeah, this team had a lot of options against me, and essentially I had to maybe make a few sacrifices in order to get a team that I thought could do well. And yeah, going through the playing, the prep, this matchup itself, like as I played it, it's clear that it was even worse than the 40-60 matchup that I thought it was. It's probably closer to how I felt against ECU. I felt that was like 30-70. There was just simply too much to prep for. And yeah, I kind of had to make some sacrifices in prep to get something that I thought could work. And one of them was Obstagoon. It's the only thing I actively dismissed. because if I spent time covering for that as well as all the other 10 mons, I was never going to get anything done. I figured that Tapu Koko and Virizion might be able to keep Obstagoon out of the matchup, but not only did it not stay out of the matchup, it was actively the reason that the Lake Erie Wishiwashis were able to cause me a lot of problems. So yeah, it's always the mons that you least expect that are gonna screw you over. I was right in that Belly Drum Politoed could break the Tapu Fini, Galarian Zapdos, Mamoswine core, but I had to play very, very strong, and I probably needed to be flawless. Like, Politoed is not a mon that has the best defenses. It's okay, I guess. Like, you like, but if it's only at 75% of its HP after the Citrus Berry, then it's a lot more vulnerable than it normally is. And I had to make sure I got everything right when doing so. In game one, you can kind of see that that's what happened, except I screwed up at the end. So that's a loss. And I actively expected my opponent to change up the strategy once he saw the Belly Drum Politoed. So that kind of caused game two as well. But it was the most consistent thing I had. It worked about 60% of the time when I played the matches. I ran some other things as well before settling on this, and I could only get like a win every 3 games. So Belly Drum Politoed was obviously the call for me this week. And yeah, the Lake Erie Wishiwashis, they prepped and played very well. Part of my game plan was to exploit any mistakes that Jimmy might have made. And honestly, he didn't make any. Like, he clearly knew his lines into my team. And that put even more pressure on me. Like, winning the set straight up was going to be very difficult. And yeah, I have very strong 11, I think. But in the 11v11 team preview, my opponent had the right mix of mons to block all of it. But what I will say is that I did give everything I had in planning, prep, and play. If only my hand didn't tremor at the end of game one, I probably would have led the same way in game two, and I would have been blown out. So I would have loved to have seen what hypothetical game three would have looked like, but unfortunately, I'm not going to get that. Now, the Alola Division Finals is the Maryland Magnemites versus Lake Erie Wishiwashis. Because JP Lacey and I went down in the semifinals, all content creators have been eliminated, so I couldn't tell you guys if that game is going to be recorded or streamed. But if it is, look out for it. It's probably going to be a good one. But I will give a season recap. I got the 7-1 in the regular season, and that's good enough for third place overall in the Alola division once you factor in the playoffs. No third place games are played, but anyone who's been on the IRL circuit, their system always puts the higher seed in third place in a situation like this, and that's where I end up now because JP Lacey was the 5th seed. So yeah, third place. Maybe you'll see me do that third place meme with the guy like shooting like champagne in his face and flipping everyone off. That's me. As for the team itself, it had an issue with very specific balance cores. Like, balance itself could be beaten, and in some cases I felt it could be beaten relatively well. But if you put the right mix of mons together, it was very hard for me to answer. Like, my two losses this season are the best example of it. Like, the Landorus and Mamoswine, I could handle them, but you start pairing that stuff with like Duraludon, Tapu Fini, Entei, Galarian Zapdos, like, it was tough for me to handle that. And ultimately, I think I found the game plans and how to do it, but if I were to use something like this again, I would have to figure out a way to take care of that before I run into matchups like this. Diggersby was far stronger than I anticipated. Yeah, that rabbit was a monster, and I have a very strange feeling that if the next UGA is Series 9, it's not going to be a C tier anymore. I think I might have had the ship sail on that one based on how I used it to kill everything in the Alola division. But realistically, it's a mon that needs the right support around it, and this team had the right support for it. Like, Dragapult, Weavile, Proctor Policy, Gothitelle can trap things in so I can easily kill them. Like, Diggersby was not getting all those KOs just because it's Diggersby. So, yeah, it was a very good mon, and it had the right team environment to get this done. Over the course of the season, I think I had very little in-game negative hacks. Like, if you're playing very fast and very like hyper offensive, your games tend to be a bit shorter than normal, and that minimizes the amount of hacks that could actually happen. So I think the way I approached this season with the team I got helped to minimize that a bit. The only hacks issue that stood out to me was when I missed the Electro Web on WPT's Thunderous in Week 7, but I was still able to win that game anyway. So yeah, it's good that I was able to minimize the overall hacks, and hopefully I can do that in the future. However, I had a number of timeouts this season. I need to stop doing that. Like, I go through a lot of things in my head during the turn, like thinking about all the stuff that could happen, and I need to complete that process quicker to avoid unfortunate timeouts which could cost me the game. And yeah, my nerves have to improve. I'm almost positive they directly led to my losses to ECU and Lake Erie Wishiwashis. Of course, those teams were going to make me uncomfortable. They had the team advantage in the 11v11, and it's something I have to react better to. Like, I know I'm going to be uncomfortable playing those matches, and I have to embrace it and just execute my strategy. And if I lose, so be it. But yeah, I do sometimes get nervous on the actual circuit as well. So that's something, not just for UGA, like playing VGC in general. I'm gonna have to figure out a way to improve this. All right, so about the Pokemon that I had. I could not have been happier to draft a team like this. Bottom line. Dragapult was everything that I could have asked for with a 9th overall pick. Like, it threatened the offense. It had a lot of support that it could do. And it was very versatile. And I could decide how to use it looking at the 11v11 each week. And surprisingly, I think I used it more as the setup option than an offensive weapon this year, or this season. So, yeah, that was a little bit unexpected, but I'm very happy I did get Dragapult. Gothitelle, like, couldn't get the thing to KO this season, but it did its job beautifully. Like, you apply the Shadow Tag pressure in Team Preview. Your opponent needs to make sure they're leading properly because you could potentially pick something off because they can't switch. Plus it's offensive pressure with a helping hand. I proc Diggersby's policy with Gothitelle this season. Like, I passed on Primarina to pick up Gothitelle at that point in the draft. Primarina is a mon that I would have liked to have, but I am very happy I picked up Gothitelle instead. It's just a unique mon that's been able to do a lot of different things to support the team. So yeah, absolutely no regrets with that pick. Politoed was shockingly versatile. Like, when I picked it up, I thought I was just getting Rain and maybe Perish to pair with the Gothitelle I had. It proves to me it's not just a Rain bot in Draft League. Like, I scarfed it, took so many KOs with Perish Song, and Belly Drum was huge. Like, I only ran it twice this season, but it adds another dimension to Politoed that people are not going to immediately anticipate, and it's something that I think can catch people off guard if you run it right. So yeah, Politoed did more than I thought it would, and it was a really good pickup for me, I think. Tapu Koko and Virizion, great pickups for offense, especially doing the beat-up stuff with Dragapult. Getting Weavile at mid-season was also excellent. All of it was offensive pressure that I needed to have the team function. But you got terrain control, you got double beat-up combo, you got a strong, fast stab attacks. Like, these were good mons. So yeah, I was definitely happy to get them. Coughing Togepi, Frostmouth, Omastar, and even Gaily, because I did bring it once before I dropped it, but they were good for their role. Like, you're not expecting Coughing to get many KOs, you're just expecting Togepi to go down because it's going to redirect things. Like, what I wanted from these mons, I got out of them. Like Coughing, you're not bringing that every week, but if a team is heavily reliant on abilities, I mean, just throw it out there. What do you got to lose? Omastar was great in the week 7. It did help me beat JP Lacey. Frostmoth, I mean, it did set up the Diggersby for my win against the Lake Erie Wishiwashis in week 6. Not the semifinal, but week 6 I did win that one. And in Gaily, I was intending on ice sharding. I think it was Diggersby. I didn't get the chance to do that because of how my opponent approached it, but at the same time, it was there to execute the strategy that I wanted it to, and had my opponent played in such a way that it could have happened that way, yeah, it would have been good. The only mon that was useless to me this season was Torracat, so I'm kind of glad I cut that thing in mid-season. And yeah, I still wish I got one good dedicated defensive mon. Like if you get like a Cresselia, Registeel, you could switch in, like you can kind of reposition yourself, but yeah, it's hard to get everything in draft. So this is something I'll have to look at going forward, and if I can do it, so be it. But yeah, good team overall. And the team in the league, this team taught me that while the type cores are nice, and you should draft them, absolutely, they're not the be-all, end-all of a good team. I hold that this team got better at midseason when I cut Torracat and Aggron, which made me cut my Firewater Grass core and my Fantasy core. Like, who needs that kind of core when you have Weavile coming in to basically just help you KO everything in one shot? Well, obviously it's not going to work that way every week, but that was the thinking. And for the most part, I think it held up. My overall team speed, 142 with Dragapult, 130 with Tapu Koko, 125 with Weavile, 108 with Virizion. I feel like it forced my opponent to react in the 11v11 each week, which essentially gave me the first move during the week preview. Like, this is my team, these are my speeds, you have to react to it. I'm not the one that has to react to your speeds. So that was an underrated but good thing about having a team this fast. But having said that, I knew, especially later on in the season, I was going to see a lot of Scarfs, and I did. And for the most part, I think I did okay dealing with them. But yeah, I definitely could still do better. So we'll see what the future holds. It was fun using the 11 I had and treating it like a puzzle to be solved each week. Like, I would get the 11 and see my opponent's 11. And given how offensive my team was, I could just, think, okay, so I have these 11 Mons. How do I one-shot my opponent's big threats? Can I even do that? And yeah, it was really enjoyable working that out, like some sort of a puzzle. Like for example, what I did week 7 against JP Lacey, like you turning my Weavile and giving it a White Herb to stop the speed reduction, and then proccing the policy and wiping out Thunderous in one shot. That's an example of like a puzzle I felt like I was solving, and I definitely enjoyed that aspect of using this team. And if I like draft balance or something in the future again, I could definitely see that working in reverse. Like, okay, so I have these somewhat bulky balanced Mons. How can I EV them to live as many hits as possible? That's another aspect of the puzzle that I think I would enjoy. And yeah, I could see myself drafting a team like this again, where it's so hyper offensive, games are going to end quickly, or going balance in the future, like typical Incineroar or Mungus stuff. Every draft is different, so yeah, I'll just have to see what happens, and whatever the board essentially tells me to draft is something that I might be able to play. All right, so I'm not going to get too into this. You guys can pause this if you would like. But some of my future plans might involve the High Roller Draft League, the United States Pokemon Association, and NPA. I'll briefly cover them. High Roller Draft League is where I played my first draft league. Like I'd worked in Steph of Anime's front office for WBE and XDL, but my first draft league performance was High Roller Draft League. There are a lot of good players who enter it, and it can be pretty pricey. Don't sign up if you don't want to lose money, or if you can't accept the risk of that happening. But if you want to test yourself against some notable players and potentially win some money, that could be a good draft league for you. USPA is a new player draft league. I'm going to be managing Team New York, but there are a lot of states that still need players. So if you're a US player or Canadian, you might want to take a look at it. And NPA, which is it's not the singles Mons draft league, but it's probably the oldest player draft league in VGC. This started during Gen 5. Many top players have played in it, and this is where my team name and logo, the Snowbell Blizzards, come from. I initially wanted to manage in this league. I eventually did so, and my team was able to win the title last year in MPA 9 2020. It's about to start up again, and signups will probably open in January. So if this is something that might interest you, please take a look at it. And I do want to give some thank yous, since this is going to be my last video of the season. First, JP Lacey for running the Alola division in a professional way that also kept the season moving. I have actually been on the commissioner team of another league. It was the last World Cup before Victory Road took over, and doing this stuff is a lot of work. And JP Lacey was well up to the challenge. Things were constantly kept moving. We knew what was going on, and yeah, the league ran smoothly, and that's a credit to him, and I definitely appreciate it, and I hope everyone else in Alola does too. Like, he was good at this, and you're not going to get that everywhere. So thank you, John. Also, the Alola division in general, you guys were very easy to schedule with. Every week was a challenge, like having to think about what could happen and how to deal with this, and pretty much all of you were pretty mature about like scheduling, hacks, etc. Like, I definitely appreciate it. Everyone who helped me prep for these matches week in and week out, and special shoutouts to Richard and Connor. Connor being the Turquoise Teddy Ursa coach. They both really helped me, especially as we went later on into the season. I would like bounce ideas and games off of them, so I do need to give a special shout out to them. My Dragapult was nicknamed after my Final Fantasy XIV character, but the other 10 Mons were nicknamed after our actual people. So, all 10 of you, thanks for the inspiration. And anyone who spent time watching my lengthy videos this season, I do need to thank you as well. Like, this is a lot of analysis stuff. It's a lot of me talking. Like, sometimes it can be dry, but there's a lot to talk about with stuff like this. And I do appreciate all of you for giving me the time of day to ramble on about my UGA team. Thanks for watching, everyone. That's it for me. I'm definitely coming back for UGA Season 4. I feel like I have unfinished business. Like, I came close, so I feel like I can maybe get over the top. But regardless, I had a ball this season. And I do want to point out one more thing. Whoever merges from the Alola division is going to be a tough out in the UGA Grand Tournament. And they both have compelling storylines. Is it going to be the 8th seed that took out the top 3 seeds? Or the Maryland Magnemites going to figure out a way to get that one more win that eluded them at the end of Season 2 and become the grand champion? Like, both of these I find are very compelling storylines, and you do not want to miss it. So for the last time this season, thank you all for watching, and I will be back in UGA 4.